What if an unexpected attack ignited a fire that spread beyond control? In the autumn of 2023, a surprise assault by Hamas militants on southern Israel did just that. This unanticipated strike resulted in a heart-rending loss of lives, with over 800 civilians and 200 soldiers meeting their untimely demise. Not stopping there, the militants captured around 240 Israeli and foreign nationals, adding fuel to the already raging fire. Israel, in response, launched an extensive aerial bombardment campaign, raining down wrath from the skies. A blockade was imposed on the Gaza Strip, tightening the noose around an already volatile situation. The conflict escalated further, spiraling into a ground invasion, with each side refusing to back down. A spark that lit a flame, the consequences of which none could foresee. The stage was set, the players in position, and the world watched in trepidation as the conflict began. How does one measure the cost of conflict? It's a question that echoes in the hearts of those witnessing the dire humanitarian crisis unfolding in the wake of the 2023 Israel-Hamas war. In the midst of the conflict, the health system in Gaza teeters on the brink of collapse. Hospitals, once places of healing, are now overwhelmed with the injured and dying, their resources stretched thin. The region grapples with acute shortages of essential supplies. Medicines, food, and clean water have become scarce commodities, their absence amplifying the suffering of a population caught in the crossfire. The toll of this conflict is etched in the faces of the living and remembered in the silence of those who have perished. Over 14,300 Palestinians, including 6,000 children, have been robbed of their futures. On the other side, over 800 civilians and 200 soldiers have lost their lives. Yet, it's not just the immediate loss of life that's alarming, but also the long-term effects on survivors. The trauma of war, particularly on the young, can last a lifetime. As the death toll rises, so too do the accusations of war crimes against both Israel and Hamas. The world watches, bearing witness to the actions of both parties. The indiscriminate attacks, the disproportionate effect on the civilian population, particularly children, have drawn international condemnation. The response of the global community has been one of outrage and sorrow. Protests have erupted worldwide, their collective voice a plea for a ceasefire, for an end to the violence that has claimed too many lives. Yet these calls have so far fallen on deaf ears, the conflict continuing unabated. In the midst of chaos, the innocent pay the highest price. The human cost of this conflict is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war. It underlines the urgency of seeking a resolution, not just for the sake of those directly involved, but for our collective humanity. Can the world stand by and watch as conflict ravages a region? In the face of this crisis, the global community has been stirred into action. President Joe Biden, making his second visit to a war zone this year, has traveled to Israel and Jordan. His mission? To reaffirm America's support for Israel and to address the dire humanitarian needs of Gaza's civilians. But it's not just the physical battleground that's caught the world's attention. The virtual arena is just as critical. Artificial intelligence chatbots, once hailed as reliable sources of information, have been found to provide inaccurate and misleading updates on the conflict. This misinformation muddles the public's understanding, creating further tension and confusion. But remember, we're all in this together. The tremors of this conflict are felt globally. In an interconnected world, no conflict remains isolated. Where do we go from here? That's the burning question on the minds of many. The answer lies somewhere between understanding the past and forging ahead into the future. This conflict, like many others, has roots that run deep. It's a tangle of tensions, with the Israeli occupation of Gaza, the blockade imposed by Israel and Egypt, and the ongoing frictions between Israel and Hamas at its core. We cannot ignore these roots if we hope to understand the present. Nor can we afford to overlook the potential for peace. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, but the potential for a brighter future makes every hurdle worth overcoming. It's a delicate dance of diplomacy, negotiation, and compromise. A dance that requires the participation of all parties involved. And the international community plays a pivotal role in this dance. It's not just about calling for ceasefires or condemning acts of violence. It's about facilitating dialogue, fostering understanding, and helping to build the infrastructure for lasting peace. The path forward is not easy. It's a path strewn with obstacles and setbacks, with twists and turns that can sometimes make the destination seem out of reach. But it's also a path of hope, a path that leads towards a world where conflicts can be resolved, not with weapons, but with words. The path to peace is challenging, but it is a journey we must undertake. For the sake of the countless lives affected by this conflict, for the sake of our shared humanity, let's tread this path together, with compassion, with understanding, and with the unwavering belief that peace is possible.